Tenho a honra em recebê-los para o evento de apresentação do potencial de movimentação de cargas nos portos do Paraná.
Of Paraná ports. We will always mention the Nova Ferroeste project that will extend the outflow capacity of the production for the port terminals. The speakers will present the evolution of the cargo handling in the ports and the public and private investments foreseen to expansion the Paraná port capacity. For the increase of the movimentation, the ports is always need to extend the infrastructure of transports that go into the seaside. The new Ferroeste project will be detailed with 1,285 kilometers. Will connect Maracaju and Paranaguá, going up to Foz do Iguaçu in Paraná State. When the railroad is concluded, will be the second largest grain corridors and container corridors in the country by cargo volume. Investors and investment funds from Brazil and all over the world are here to know the project. Today we're going to have this previous event that will be held in Dubai, that called Expo Dubai 2021, that will happen in October. The event has transmission via YouTube in English and Portuguese. Regarding Carlos Walter Martins Pedro, President of the FIEP system, and Marcelo Costa, that here represents the Infrastructure Minister, we thank their presence with Tarcísio Freitas. We thank your presence here. Representing our Governor Carlos Massa Ratinho Jr., we have here Sandro Alex, the Secretary of Infrastructure. We always have Valdemar Bernardo Jorge, the planning of the state. We always have Jaime Verhoek and Reinaldo Azambuja, the integrant of G7, Mr. Rainer Zielasco, the Engineering Institute of Paraná, the lawyers of Paraná State, among other entities. We thank you, the integrants of the Paraná State Governor and abroad and national investors. Be welcome. So we start this event asking for the President of the Industry Federation of Paraná State, Carlos Walter Martins Pedro. So, for this event, about the Paraná ports, the cargo lifting, and about the Ferroeste. It's an extremely important issue for our state, the Mato Grosso do Sul state, and also for Brazil. I'd like to wish a welcome to FIEP, which is the industry house here in Paraná, in our state, that has a industrial diversity very important, and actions like that take to a bigger competence for our industry. I would like to compliment Marcelo Costa. Be welcome here at FIEP here in Paraná, and FIEP is always available for you. Also, Sandro Alex, State Secretary with these great missions. Valdemar Jorge, the Secretary, we need to meet more personally. Welcome for this event. Nice to be here with Jaime from Mato Grosso do Sul state, so important state that we have lots of common object goals. Be welcome to our Industrial Federation of Paraná State, and also mentioning, as our host just did, Mr. Ismael Spring, which is from the Infrastructure Minister of Brazil. Be really welcome, and let's have a nice event, and it is motivating to attract investment regarding this infrastructure in our state. Count on the Federation. Thank you for your presence and participation. So, the President of the FIEP, Carlos Walter Martins Pedro, thank you. And to open officially the event, we invite Marcelo da Costa Vieira, National Secretary of Inland Transports, representing Tarcísio Freitas, the Ministry of Infrastructure. Good morning to everybody that are here in this event. It's a pleasure to be here with FIEP, that has played an important role with partnership with the state government, align government policies, but with the productive sector, with its needs and everything. So it has been a fantastic experience in our relationship with the federal government, with Paraná government, to whom I salute in particular the Governor Ratinho Jr. for the management of and relationship, and Sandra Leck, Secretary, an event that gathers another states as Mato Grosso do Sul. And I compliment my friend Jaime, also Santa Catarina State, that is always interested and has a expansion possibility with Nova Ferroeste project. Good morning to everybody. I'd like in this opening, in a few words, just give my testimonial. I had recently visited not only the project, Nova Ferroeste project, and I thank Luiz Fagundes for accompanying me and open the project, clarified lots of points, interesting points, detailing not only about the project, regarding the environmental license and other points of the project. I had the opportunity in the same visit to visit the Paranaguá port, and then I thank the reception, warm reception that our committee had there with Luiz Fernando, the Paraná Port's president, that has done an excellent job, and that highlights a new public management of ports. It's a really happy moment, and I had this opportunity to acknowledge more deeply, and I can testify to you the quality of the work that has been done through this partnership regarding the FIEP with Paraná government in the development of a revolutionary project for Paraná and South Brazil. Nova Ferroeste represents and incorporates in its project what the latest engineering, the latest sustainability, environmental concerns, and also on the logistics field. It's a possibility to transform Paraná into a huge logistic hub in South Brazil. Nova Ferroeste has a capacity to connect a port, really relevant port in the country, in the performance, high efficiency, which is Paranaguá port, creating a greater logistic corridor, including transoceanic to Foz do Iguaçu, capturing cargo in Mato Grosso state, giving another outflow opportunity for the Center Brazil, and that's the interest that we have for our federal plan port, so that we can put Center Brazil with different ways, railroads, so that we can have a reduction of the logistical costs through competition. What's news in our country regarding the rail sector? It's a big logistic access that is coming near. It's a challenging project with high investments, lots of challenges, construction challenges with mountains, the terrain, and the project is really mature, that it was really well developed, and it's ready for a moment like nowadays, that we start a new phase in the project, that this project is presented to possible investors, and then we have the feeling and the receptivity of the investors that something that we do in our projects in the federal sphere. From the moment that we understand that the moment is mature, we present it to investors, and the feedback we got from them, we incorporate it in the project modeling, making it more mature and secure, juridically more interesting for the investor, whether it is Brazil, local or international. We have the possibility to use this railroad as one of the main logistical axes in the country, not all in the exportation corridor that is traditional here in Brazil. 90% of the cargo of our railroads they go through exportation, but we have a cargo that comes abroad. That we know that a lot of fertilizer comes into Paranaguá and goes to Paraná State. It's an important cargo. Also, corn for industry in Santa Catarina State. It's an interesting logistics too, and this return cargo being the exportation of manufactured goods. So, gentlemen, it's a wonderful project. It's fantastic. That's been conducted really well, and here in the federal government we support, even because there is a coincidence in this project, which is the project to be mature, and at the same moment that the federal government launches regarding some law that is tramitating in Congress, this new regulation for railroad, possibilitating this new modeling that we're having now, that make the investment more flexible, capturing private investment and having a lower regulatory charge. So it's the perfect time when we launch a project that relevance and helps it to happen with the laws, the 765 law here in Brazil that affects Mato Grosso do Sul state and also Chapecó in Santa Catarina. So we need and we should gather this opportunity and understand that the federal government really believes in this project, supports for this project, the new Nova Ferroeste project. And on the other hand, I had I understood that not only the logistical capacity of the railroad, this installed capacity of the Nova Ferroeste, that will increase a lot of the outflow capacity. This increase of capacity will not have in the Paraná port a problem in the railroad system, because the planning is integrated, where we have an expansion with great investors in the port, which is already a modern port, but will be adopted in an internal railroad system that will allow the outflow that comes from Nova Ferroeste. That's how we do logistics, multimodal logistics, with a really important and responsible project regarding sustainability that supports all these structures. So congratulations to FIEP, to the organizers of the event. Here at the federal government, we'll pay attention to the project, doing everything that we can do for this entrepreneur to be succeeded. That is so important to Santa Catarina, Paraná, and Mato Grosso do Sul state, for all this region, South Brazil. Thank you. Great event to everybody. So now, Marcelo da Costa Vieira, National Secretary of Inland Transports, and in this moment representing the Paraná Governor Carlos Mas Ratinho Jr. Let's hear the Infrastructure and Logistics Secretary of Paraná State, Sandro Alex. Hello, everybody, all my friends there. It's a pleasure to be here again. It's a really important room, participation between government and productive sector. So for us, that I speak in the name of Valdemar, that our planning secretary, Luiz also, our president André, Carlos Walter, everybody here, and also Marcelo da Costa, our partner from the federal government. So Marcelo, this room was so important in these happenings in the Paraná State infrastructure. So I'd like to thank FIEP. So now today we're talking about Port and Ferroeste too, but I'd like you to know that the instruction gave to all modals had the direct participation of all of you. And I will bring briefly here that now we're working on the airports. The companies are already working in in the next month. So there was construction that we've done here. The third track in Curitiba. Even Santa Catarina's a little bit jealous of us, but it has a really great importance in the productive sector, in the public audiences, and the same way in the construction of the roads, concessions. We send this project to the Brazilian government in the beginning of October. We'll send the branches to the Brazilian government to check all the counts. It's another step. Of course, we have some more advances. There are positives, João, because we have to close something with the Brazilian government. We're discussing with the ministry, with our team, Tarcísio team. So we left to the Brazilian government to close it, to put the prices a little bit down, and then maybe we can go to stock market. And the same way, our Ferroeste president, I'm so excited. I can imagine that of who lives there in West. It's incredible. This team, they should be really happy because it's dreams of decades that we've seen going to real life. We're finalizing the studies. I believe until the end of the year, of course, you'll talk more about it, but it's a significant advance for Paraná infrastructure, mainly the west region. So my team will talk more about it, about Ferroeste, what Paraná has gone forward to the authorization of the project. And talk about Port here, Luis, is for us, it's our rich cousin in the infrastructure. We have to build everything regarding 20,000 roads, but anyways, it's a proud. The governor of the Paraná State, I was talking to him, and Paraná has for the second time the best management of port management. I'm really proud of this team. The port is the consequence, the result of all work of Paraná people, richness, mainly the agribusiness, and they are holding it. It's a huge work. Any error, it's a federal and sometimes international news. So it's a constant work and an excellent work. Today we recognize through the ministry that we have a highly efficient port that now goes forward, President, to the railroad model. We are working on it. In the next days we will launch the closing of the project, and then we'll go forward, right, President? So in the next days we're doing the expansion of the capacity of the corridor. The governor is really proud of it. Yesterday he was talking about it, so we're really excited. And of course, the port is a consequence of the infrastructure work. If it works well, the result gets there. So we had to get the roads, the railroads, the ports. They have this great job, so that the port will have a great job too. So I'll be here listening with you. It's a complex issue, of course. Lots of varieties that we are here to listen to you. But today I'd like to be here in person because my city it's called Ponta Grossa. It's the second that sends more cargo to port. And when we're talking about Maringá and Ponta Grossa, we always have a great connection with the port. We have great cities here in Paraná. But now today I would like to thank you We've done a lot of good work. The Paraná people, they trust in our results, everything we're doing. I would like to thank also, I don't know if Marcelo is still here, but the federal government, Tarcísio Minister, he's a partner. He listened to us, including this room, and we could model the roads that heard the Paraná people, and he managed to make Paraná a reference. You see, yesterday I was in Santa Catarina, in Florianópolis, and Santa Catarina State is developing. I just finished, but just to finish, the state is developing a new model of concession of road. You see, Santa Catarina is going to use the same model as Paraná is using now. You see that was done with the federal government. So this is really transparent, and it's a result of your work. So it's a really qualified work that the Paraná people in the next few years will see as a consequence really road advance in the next years in all models. And the port and the productive sector and the people has a lot to gain with it. I'm available for you to answer about your question, and thank you. Marcelo, I salute you there in Brasilia, and for my friends, thank you. So the Sandra Lex, State Secretary of Logistical and Infrastructure of Paraná State. So let's hear Valdemar Bernardo Jorge, Structuring Project and Planning, Paraná State Secretary. So good morning to everybody. Really nice to be here again. I salute our President Carlos Walter, our VP Edson Vasconcelos, and also that he heads the infrastructure committee from a long time, right, Vasconcelos? In this house, we are discussing a lot with João Arthur, trying to improve and show the expansion, the need of the inspection of our railroad, our ports here in Paraná State. So it's really important to be here and have these important roles. I salute everybody, our friend Sandra Lex, that represents our governor. We're here to salute all of you. The governor, right in the beginning, he had a big dream, and it is to transform Paraná State in a logistic hub because of the production capacity that we have in other the region. It's a logistical center. If you gather in other states, our Mercosul and other countries, so Paraná logistically is really well positioned. And this dream, it's not done alone. We have the city halls, the state secretaries as Sandra Lex, this house as FIEP, universities, railroads, ports, that in person of Luiz Fernando has done a great job. Sandra Lex has mentioned already the ports here. It's a great management, always having productivity records. So congratulations to the port managers, Sandra Lex secretary, and everybody that's been a long time Arthur that has working with it. It's a long time. Everything's done with a really well job. To show that a railroad may decrease the transportation costs, that as we call the Paraná cost, that would decrease the Brazil cost. If we do this, if we do our job, if you get our port improved, we have a better situation for our producers. With the Paraná State government, we are working with the productivity. If you want to increase the productivity through the increase of our production, we'll need to have a way to outflow this production. If you take the last 10 years, the production in Paraná State is high. Since raw materials, more animal protein, frozen products, so we really need this support. And our governor has this idea to invest a lot in the infrastructure part. That's his dream. And for that, he chose our Luiz Fagundes to develop this issue that we're going to discuss this morning, which is our railroad. With our president André, that has done a great job transforming the Ferroeste Railroad in a productive work that gave us results. Now, which was really significant, that gives Carlos Massa Ratinho Jr. great highlight. So congratulations to everybody for this event. So here in Paraná, we went to plan everything based on evidence, and the data shows the increase of the productivity, the need of the increase of the investment in port, and Luiz Fernando has reached this investment, railroad investments. It's our daily struggle. Our team, Sandro, Alex, Luiz Fagundes, André, are working 24 hours per day. Next week we'll visit our cooperatives in Paraná State that are done a really nice job having hiring employees, investing 4 billion in our Paraná State cooperative. So that's Paraná State. It's specified. We don't have politics struggle. What we have is a construction with the federal government. So I'd like to salute Marcelo da Costa, our secretary, that has helped us a lot. It's a partner. So everybody is working together. So we value the productive chain of exportation. So if I want to have better service for the population, so I need to outflow the production, and then we will have more incomes with no increase of the taxes. Then I have the taxes, and the products, the service for the population, it would be better. So I'd like to thank the railroad, the ports, and to all governor team that organized civil society that we're having this wonderful development to have better Paraná. So, Valdemar Bernardo Jorge, of the structuring, project planning, Paraná State Secretary. In this moment, let's hear Jaime Verhut, Secretary of the Environment Production, representing the Governor of Paraná, of Mato Grosso do Sul State, Reinaldo Azambuja. Good morning to everybody. First of all, I'd like to salute Carlos Walter, showing the importance that we have the Nova Ferroeste and Port project, showing the private sector here that we will need to develop this project. And the safeness of the project. I salute Marcelo Costa, our minister. I think we have our work here of planning and infrastructure in long terms, and the infrastructure ministry, they are really brave so that we can go forward here in Brazil. We have these new laws on the railroads that allow these better results in the railroads here in Mato Grosso State that connects Dourados to Maracaju extension our Ferroeste. I'd like to salute Sandro Alex in the name of Governor Ratinho, that has always highlighted the importance of this project, and that I'd like to remark here. First of all, we're talking the private sector. It's important to understand all the environment that we've created for the Nova Ferroeste project, where we have participation of public policies. Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul states always developing their public policies for the project, and the federal government also. So this environment that we could build with public policies, structuring projects that we can modify the reality of our regions. For you to know, Mato Grosso do Sul state, 40% of Mato Grosso do Sul go through Paraná port. So when we talk about competition in Nova Ferroeste, only this cargo is ready and will be reallocated if you are competitive to the Nova Ferroeste. In Mato Grosso do Sul state has an expansion project regarding production. We've incorporated 1 million hectares of production, and we have a goal in the next 2 years to incorporate other 2 million hectares of production. and also all the investments on industrialization that Nova Ferroeste allows us. So this is a really strategic project for the state because we have a new industrial and agro production that this environment that we've created with all leaderships in the states, so believing in the project, and Paraná team, it's I congratulate them. It's a really well project done regarding demand, fleet costs. So have nowadays the possibility to the investors, a solid project, consistent project inside federal environment. It's not a Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul state. It's a project that generates competitivity for states, increase productions, but it's in the context of the Brazilian government. So let's have a nice event that we can present to our investors how this project is organized, has leadership, is safe regarding the law, and could reduce fleet and develop our region. So let's have a nice day. Congratulations. Reinaldo Azambuja, the government believes in the project. As we heard, Santa Catarina and Paraná state governor and the federal government, I'm sure that in next year we'll have good results to search for investors to develop the logistics in Brazil. Thank you. Good morning. So, Mato Grosso do Sul Secretary Jaime Verrucchi, thank you. And now we invite Ismael Trinks, Railroad Transport Department Director, to his speech. Good morning to everybody. I would like to salute everybody in the Carlos Walter person, the president. I guess everything has been said, which is important about Ferroeste. Entrepreneur that's fantastic, so I'll talk a little bit as a railroad transport. So I'll talk some about the ministry, the policies, and then we'll get to this project here. So when we started in the government with my boss, Da Costa, and the minister, he was like, okay, let's focus on railroad. It's transportation that's abandoned for about 40 and 50 years. Let's focus on that. Brazil is a continental country and we need this appropriate model. I remember he was like, be creative, let's innovate, and if the idea is good, I'll buy it. So there was what the minister told us, and then we divided in 4 parts, really clear parts, and at the end of the day, all of them converged to the balance of the transport matrix. First was to prorogate the concession projects so that we could anticipate investments of the private sector, mainly in this moment that we're facing a decade of recession. So we needed to innovate. We couldn't depend on the public investment and attract the private sector that really understand of the business. So this prorogation nowadays, we have assigned 3 of them. First of all was the Malha Paulista from São Paulo state. That was really difficult, really hard. It was really complex. Another 2, one of Vale. And all of this, at the end of the day, it's a foreseen investment of 30 billion Brazilian reais. We've done 2 new concessions, or railroad concessions. We've signed it in the beginning of this month, a concession of Fiol, and over the North-South Railroad. It was in the beginning of the government. That generated around 10 billion of investment. Created, I don't know if everybody knows it, or idea of this institute. This cross-investment institute, it's in the same law. Cross-investment is basically to take concession investment and do new railroads. New railroads we offer again to the market, and we have new concessions, and we do new railroads, and then we keep going. So regarding this, we are next Friday, the FICO event will start with a railroad that is getting into Mato Grosso state, 400 kilometers of railroad, one of the biggest soy production states. And our idea is when we do the concession of this, it will generate another income, and then we do another railroad project, all depend of the Brazilian government. And now it was another complex point to launch the another Brazilian law, the provisory measure that allowed us, that André and Luiz Fagundes, we're struggling already for 2 years maybe, right, Fagundes? And how to give sense to Ferroeste. It's a railroad that's in the heart of Paraná State, in a region, in the production centroid of all kinds of cargo, agribusiness, animal protein, minerals that you can bring. So it's the cargo is really diversified. Containers, another thing. It's an important railroad for Mato Grosso do Sul state. Now we have a connection to Santa Catarina, so let's get all this cargo. But no one spoke about Paraguay. So we have a connection with Foz do Iguaçu, and how Paraguay has a lack of logistical options. Paraguay has no railroad in its history. So we will provide a logistical option appropriate for our neighbor, and we could take a lot of cargoes to Paranaguá, employments, and a country that for sure will thank after the entrepreneur, because at the end, well, coming back to the zone. The authorization yells a lot. That apart from Paraná, there are another 3 states that has done this kind of legislation. It shows how it's really needed, and the investment itself. Our railroad here has nowadays 30,000 kilometers. It was dated from Chumorret. It's from the 1880, so it's almost 150 years. It's from the emperor thing, but nowadays it's productive yet. And it's productive, but it's from the emperor time. So it has more than a century, and the 30,000 kilometers was done at that age. In the authorization system, in the one that we are implementing, something that the government just said, private sector, you can build the railroad, but it's your risk. Exactly as we are doing nowadays, this authorization, and where Barão de Mauá put his resources and started the first Brazilian railroads. And after that, in 1940s, it is stagnated at the moment that we choose for, we went to a governmental concession system, and then we have almost a century of stagnation, and of course, at that time, 30,000 kilometers was for a certain demand, but nowadays, after 100 years, we have 10 times this national demand. And the railroads are the same kind of number of kilometers. As a result, 2 days after the law, we had 12 assignments last week of railroads that amounts 60 billion reais in authorization. So this shows how the lack of the railroad option regarding the demand. And talking to another businessman, we have other 6 requirements. So that we'll have until the end of the month. For sure, Brazil and Paraná will evaluate. Paraná will be a center of cargo, will be a cargo hub here in Brazil. If not the biggest, will be the second biggest in Paranaguá. Another important point in Paranaguá that I visited yesterday, I was impressed with the productivity of this port. It's not the biggest in extension. It's a little bit limited, but it's the biggest production that we have in Brazil. And we have there is a lack of an appropriate logistic option. We need this appropriate logistic option, and Fagundes is going to do this. We'll take the trucks out of the roads, cheaper fleets, and make Paraná more competitive. That's it. Thank you. We thank Ismael Trinks, Director of Transport. Now Edson José de Vasconcelos, Vice President of FIEP and Infrastructure Coordinator. So good morning. In the name of Marcelo da Costa, my President Carlos Walter, our Secretary Sandra Alex, and our friend Valdemar from Cascavel, I would like to thank everybody, and would like also in a really sincere way to thank our partners, the Engineering Institute of Paraná, the lawyers. They are not here, but they are watching us online. The FIEP Infrastructure and Logistical Council it was not presented itself, but was presented during the works. I think Paraná is in a wonderful moment. The pro-Paraná movement, NEP, could absorb lots of demand or observed. Our meetings, weekly meetings, were really important. YEP knows everything about the industry, but it helps and wants to be proactive in all the state. Our secretary, in a really nice way, puts on how Paraná is giving Brazil an example and how the gathering to get to a common goal. The government was always ready to talk in all regions, in all sectors. I remember that Valdemar, when started the planning secretary, went to Cascavel, something the commitment of a lot of issues, in special that we had to prove that Ferroeste was good to be done. And for lots of years we were discussing and dreaming with the day when the government believed. And now we have it. We have cargo, and now we have a new moment. In special, the federal government is really believing in this project. To be aligned with Paraná State, our mission here is to give support, social alignment, to support this project. And also, we are in a new moment. Some time ago, we talked about the port or the outflows of the raw materials, and for two decades, and part of our state and Mato Grosso do Sul also, that start to transform vegetal protein into animal protein, and now we export, grain exporters, we consume grains, our region, because of the dry weather, and our inland secretary has mentioned Chapecó. That really needs all these roads to make our production become richness. So I'd like to thank André, which is a Ferroeste president, which has done a fantastic work that could bring already in a coherent way. Ferroeste is now a better project. Not only bringing the future mission, but with really good revenues in the first year of work. And Fagundes, that when got into the government, he came to our sector, in our region. When we think about doing a meeting, he's asking for it for next week. So this is transforming us and making us believe that everything is going to happen. Good speeches to everybody, so at the end we'll have a nice discussion time that everybody will be able to collaborate. Thank you. Thank you for Edson José Vasconcelos, FIEP Vice President and Infrastructure Council Coordinator. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll start the speeches of the webinar Paraná Ports, Cargo Lifting Potential. After the presentation, we'll have the participation of João Arthur Moore, Sistema FIEP Strategic Issues, that will host the Q&A to our speech. Our first speaker is Luiz Henrique Fagundes, Railroad Schedule Plan Coordinator of this work group. So good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank through the Carlos Walter President, our friend Edson Vasconcelos and João Moore for organizing this event, which is logistics is about connecting models, and that's what we're doing, pure logistics. So this is really important. This project, because of its greatness and because of its capacity to impact, let's see, it will be the great logistical solution for the agribusiness below parallel 16. There is no project with this reach in Brazil. It is a project that is the Paraná State DNA, it's true, but it's a national project and even international, as Ismael Trinks mentioned. It's impressive on how Paraguay it suffers with that. Even if he found a solution with roads through rivers, when 2014 he transported 7 billion tons. Last year was only 2. So it can it has to use Buenos Aires port, that it's 200 from the coast, is small boats, and it's really bad, but it has no other option. So Ismael was really smart in this comment on Paraguay. So Paraná is going to be Paraguay's port. This is going to be the future. And for being so big, it is impossible to be conducted for a small group. So its impact is really, really huge. And through my friend Marcelo da Costa, I'd like to thank all federal government that we had great support through Teresa Cristina Minister, mainly at the demand study. IBAMA environmental government has helped in the licensing project, has done our path as smooth as possible. I would like to thank a lot the Economies Ministry in particular in the licensing process, environmental license process that I've mentioned with the Secretary Marta, the importance of Jose Hoffman in this process. I would also like, through the Valdemar Secretary and Sandrolec, thank all management of the state government. They both represent the face of the Secretary of our government that has done everything to support us. Nowadays, we invested already 40 million reais in this project in studies. So not only the financial parts, but regarding human, the technicians, the best are being allocated to the project. So I'd like also to thank Jaime Verrucchi and everybody from Mato Grosso do Sul that are contributing to this process. And I'd like to thank the productivity sector that has taught us a lot. And The dramatic thing that not even 5% of its produced go to the port because there are no railroads. Nowadays, the railroads for a Cascavel lift, container lift, to get to the port, it takes 5 days. With the new Nova Ferroeste, it will take 20 hours. And what's worse, even if you want to take longer, that's not possible. And this work, so I'd like to thank a lot to Edson, João. This project was materialized in an event in 2019 event when it was signed a letter. All the productive sector of West Paraná. That event is kind of exciting. I was really excited about it. Just to tell you how the greatness of this project is multifaceted. And again, I would like to highlight the importance of the federal government. We have our authorization law, but it was built with the federal government. We've done a mission in the United States to study the authorization model. It was really well thought and always really harmonic. If I'd like to point everyone in the infrastructure minister that worked in the project, I'll be here for hours. So Marcelo, thank you. And to end, I would like to say that we were doing here is to give some continuity to the government plan execution at the Carlos Massa Ratinho Jr. We're doing what is written in the government planning. It's a personal testimonial since 2015-16. I talk about railroads with the governor. He was not a candidate even at the time. And I learned a lot from him to see the importance, because I had my eyes closed on it. And talking, we're developing our governor's dream. And it's impressive on how he understands, and he has a sentence that it's important. I know that I want to inaugurate the constructions, but I want to give this legacy. So if we are here, is to give is to continue the dream of getting Paraná into a logistical hub, and I'll try to share now with the entrepreneurship of Nova Ferroeste. And personally, I would like to hug André, that from the beginning it was a partner. It's hard work. We were together in there. So let's go. So as I've mentioned, Paraná, for a geographical condition, in 1,000 radius, it concentrates 70% of South American revenues. If you don't have an excellent productivity, and if you have a nice port, it won't work if you don't connect them through the railroad. Nowadays, our track that is object of study starts in Maracaju and then connects to the west track. It connects to the federal railroads. It's an important concept. Connection. We have to be connected with Brazil. And there is a lack of a connection that, as the federal government allows us, will connect Cascavel to Chapecó. Santa Catarina state has a problem that is getting bigger and bigger. It has a corn deficit, only corn, 5 million tons a year. This corn comes from Mato Grosso do Sul. So we're talking about a corn that is going through trucks from Mato Grosso do Sul to Chapecó. This is a solution that is the solution for the Santa Catarina State West region solution problem, and this is dreaming with the federal government. Again, we're making this project a national solution. It has a connection with South Mesh. It's really important at Balsa Nova region. So this is the way that we are thinking of it. We'll have an exportation corridor, but almost 50% of which is produced in this region will be exported. But it also has differently of other corridors. It has lots of internal movement, and with this connection to Chapecó, it will increase a lot. Not only corn, but grains. This Chapecó connection into Chapecó to Cascavel connection, we estimate a 10 million tons cargo lift a year, so that you can understand the importance of these connections to Brazil. We're looking to follow a concept, ESG concept in this project, so the environment issue was treated in different ways. One of the reasons that we could develop so fastly this project, we treated it as a simultaneous engineering. So we're developing the track with the environmental issue. So we had significant gains. So we are not getting into any indigenous place, nothing. Indigenous is because it's the community that is near the existing Nova Ferroeste. So we could mitigate the environmental risk in this design, and it's really important for entrepreneurship of 1,300 kilometers with environmental impact level that we're building was not easy. So it definitely, regarding a railroad characteristic, it will be a green solution to promote the sustainable development of the economy. We substitute 4 trucks by 1 wagon, so less carbon emission, less accidents, and it protects the conservation units. Would like here to protect the rainforest, Aricana and Santilé. So it has this benefit too. Not only what we take off carbon. We'll see what is this amount. We measure that in soccer fields, but inside the ESG concept, the social issue, the most important here is like the direct influence area of this railroad are almost 9 million people, almost the Paraná population distributed into 3 states. It benefits 427 cities, and the biggest gain of the which is because of infrastructure, it's the increase of productivity. When you reduce 20 and something % of the transportation, you create an environment that will bring new companies, it will generate employment, more qualified employment, and will create, when you reduce the logistics cost, a positive effect of eventual prices decrease. So the market could present more competitive prices. The government's issue to complete ESG, we're looking for a maximum or maybe a total transparency. So that is a project that we've had focus since the beginning of an open management. So everything that we talk here, everybody knows about it, and we're working with the environmental regulatory organs, indigenous issues, and one of the goals of CDE is to reach it reaches 7 OCDE goals. But regarding the main policies of the Nova Ferroeste, it's a track that starts in Maracaju, goes up to Cascavel, and then a connection to Foz do Iguaçu, and then to the port. And then in the future, we have to include Chapecó. We just need the formalization for it, and we solve it. We are planning already. 60 years of contract, but the construction time that we estimated in 10 years, and we're building a bid to the market. A good contract is the one that is executed, so we have to balance it. In the beginning of next year, we have lots of public audience. We validate our understanding to see if it's really, we have our right view of the process. The project's being developed in a large gauge, so it will allow the double stack movimentation for containers, which is really important. In our understanding, will be most important in the future because we will have the transformation in the vegetal protein to animal, and then container will prevail. Nowadays, we have a port here in Paraná that has 2,600 plugs, electrical plugs. Maybe it's the biggest one in South America, maybe. So we have to give lift for it. The infrastructure is ready. We are going to work with 160 wagons with 3 locomotives. So nowadays the trains just have 80 wagons and up with 40 at maximum wagons and empty because of infrastructure problems. So we have a better situation to put this 10,000 containers from Paraguay, and we'll be able to transport them. So you can see the benefits of appropriate infrastructure. Integration with the federal railroad mesh. We can have it in Maracaju connecting to the west mesh and bringing to 20 or 30 years this railroad maybe will be at Rondonópolis, and it'll be the complete connection. We'll create an internal consumption corridor because Brazil, it's interesting. The most part of the productive sector of agribusiness is the west, which is far from the port, which are in the east. So there is a need of the goods corridor, corn, soy, that will be guaranteed through this design. Nowadays, we already have port for this railroad, and the port, Luiz Mateus, will have a railroad too, so we want to have a lack of port. The investment plans that we have access, that we detail are fantastic because they guarantee that the future is guaranteed. The present it's real, but the future is guaranteed. So the demand is very diversified, grains, liquids, and containers. The outflow capacity of Ferroeste is 2/3 of its produced in the direct influence area. Almost 70% of what's produced, 47% is exportation. So it's a really exportation corridor, and will be the only railroad solution for the agribusiness that will take the Santa Catarina West, Paraná State, and Mato Grosso do Sul, and also Paraguay and also Argentina. So it's a region that in 2030 will produce about 80 million tons, but it will be the only railroad solution. So it will have a great responsibility. It's a project that will allow the future. So summarizing, that's it. We have this, we put Chapecó in a different color. We are really anxious about it. So it's a railroad that now that we have engineering study concluded, went now to 1,300 kilometers, 33.5 billion Brazilian reais, in the first year would be able to transport 38 million tons, and after 60 years, 85 million tons. The CAPEX has 180 locomotives, 5,500 and something wagons. It's a really complex civil works, structure works, mainly in the rainforests. That's 55 kilometers. There we have lots of bridges. We're talking about 15 kilometers of bridges and 8 kilometers of tunnels. So that will allow us to have efficiency, and it's sustainable environmentally. The sustainable part is that the railroad creates a solution for Curitiba. So Curitiba is the worst city now in Brazil regarding railroad safety. On this ranking, unfortunately, we're first. But with this project, we created conditions to eliminate this problem. It's not to improve, it's to eliminate this problem in Curitiba. Because in Balsa Nova, you connect with South Mesh, and you create a door to the railroad system in Paraná. I would like to highlight here that this track, this study, we allow that Paraná will be attended by the railroad when it makes sense. So the South network does not struggle with the Nova Ferroeste network. So Nova Ferroeste will not rob lifts between them. There is an harmony, and then we can have an integral cover where we have important economic sense. For shorter distance, we have the trucks. Our study demands that it's really conservative. So the demand, which is connected to the production, we have the growth, annual growth of 1.5 on average. If you look what was here in the newspaper, they were saying 40% in 10 years. But no. We decided to be conservative in all steps of the development. So the market could find the upsides and identify them and make the best offer. It's a project that will be with a revenue in beginning of 2030 of $1 billion. We have this average per decades, and with time it will be around 1.8 or 1.7 billions of revenue. High EBITDA level, it will be around cash generation of 70%, and it's a result of a modern structure. We're doing a Class A project, everything new, soft ramps that will allow the goods will go down the mountains in a really high speed. This to serve the port and the productive sector. It's something the money will have to it's the disbursement, something about $3 billion. So what happens is this project demands investment where we don't have lifts there when you go down the mountains. But if you don't solve these points, then you cannot bring the goods. So it's a moment. These first years are of intense investments, but the revenue, when you start leaving Cascavel up to north, then will be delicious. So we have this foreseen. We're still doing some adjustment to improve the cash flow, but we have a return of the investment of 11% a year, $6 billion. Along the contract, the revenue will be 87 billions, So we're talking about
Paraná em 60 anos.
something like the Paraná State GDP in almost 60 years.
E não é por isso que
Because,
corredor de exportação.
and because that's why it's the second biggest exportation corridor. So we'll create
A gente
a bid that
nós vamos dar metas
will give the investors some goals,
realizáveis.
but that are feasible.
Nós contamos de novo
So we count on the
federal nesse
experience and the support with the federal government with it. We work together.
risco
And our risk process, demand risk, macroeconomic risk will be from the investor part.
trazer o mercado mesmo.
That's our understanding to bring the market to the railroad
Ouvir frases desse tipo,
model. So
privilégios, né?
I have heard something that concession contract is a privileged contract. Yeah, and sometimes it's like this. But the risk of the market has to be it has to be investor assumption. Of course, it's put in the count, but that's the way the market works. If you open a business, then you have to assume the risks. So I guess this is basically what I'd like to show.
Na sequência aí, no final,
By the end,
perguntas, vamos ter
all the questions, we'll try to answer all of them.
tentei dar
I try to
panorama, né?
give a general view.
Número que eu acho
There's a number that I think that calls our attention, which is our return from invested capital. For investment is a really important number because we will compare these numbers. Of course,
elas são complementares.
all metrics are complementary. You cannot take a look at only one, but it is interesting because it shows that the entrepreneurship is from increasing revenues.
Então, ele,
So
quando ele vai entrando na maturidade do
when
investimento,
when the maturity of the investment are getting,
os ganhos são crescentes
the revenues are growing with it. So it's really important
para um investidor.
for the investors. And then later
O mercado aqui
we'll go to the market searching for
dá esse diamante aí.
people who wants to have this diamond in hand. Thank you.
Agradecemos a Luiz Henrique Fagundes.
I'd like to thank Luiz Henrique Fagundes. Can I say, if Mirella was reminding me what's most important, we have a video.
Vamos então ao vídeo.
So let's see the video. It's really better than listen to me, right?
Essa é a Serra do Mar.
So this is the mountains here.
Esse vídeo é sem som mesmo.
This video has no sound
Da Serra do Mar.
because of simulation
E chegando em Paranaguá.
of the railroad from Curitiba to Paranaguá. So you'll see the tunnels, the bridges,
E foi feito o projeto baseado
all the land work that the project was done based on the best engineering techniques to concerning the environmental impacts.
equivalente
Oh, you can see it's equivalent
rodoviária.
if you understand the Santos São Paulo road, it's similar to it.
Ele segue muito próximo
It follows
BR-277
to the right road
Parque do Guaricana.
of the Guaricana Park, Saint-Hilaire Park. It doesn't go through the parks, but it's next to the highway.
Todos os impactos
So all environmental impacts are minimized. Slow ramps, 1.75% at maximum. Curves with long radius, so that you allow higher speeds on the transportation of these loads.
esse traçado na
So
Serra
this
do Mar,
track for this track is foreseen in two ways, so that it allows the movimentation, big movimentation,
simultânea
and simultaneous movimentation
serra quando subindo
going down or up the mountains.
cruzamento
So no crossing points.
viaduto
but a two-way track all along it.
Só lembrando também
So I'd
que
like to
essa
remind you
passagem
that this track, it's in mixed gauge because it connects
na Malha Sul,
the railroad from the south network with metric gauge with the Nova Ferroeste, which has the large gauge. So we'd have three
esse traçado
tracks
da Nova e do Paranaguá.
So we'd have between Balsa Nova and Paranaguá, three railings, different railings.
Viadutos construídos naquele sistema
Uh,
cantilever, que não
bri-
precisa fazer o acesso
Bridge built in the cantilever system, that you don't need the access in the ground, so that you don't need to put the trees down. So
superior,
all
minimizando os impactos
all materials come from the superior part, so we minimize the environmental impact in the rainforest.
próprios ambientalistas
The
na Serra do Mar, do Observatório
the environmental professionals, they're working there. They support the project because they know that the railroad model reducing 5 times the carbon emission by transported ton in comparison with the
se aproximar da planície litorânea do Paraná,
highways models. So now we're going to
quilômetro 10,
in the
próximo
kilometer 10
da rodovia
near another highway called Alexandra Martins, and at this point it gets closer to the highway.
da região
This region in the seaside of Paraná State, where it's going to cross the bridge over the highway that already existed there for more than 50 years, and now getting into the Alexandra Martins highway,
Alexandra,
going next to it,
entrando agora
and getting into
de Paranaguá.
the Paranaguá
Viram o
city.
impacto
So
do quilômetro 5,
we're going to see the movimentation
Paranaguá, pátio animado
plant.
do Paranaguá, exatamente o pátio nesse momento.
Uh,
Ele contorna o pátio para permitir
it goes around
atual,
the maneuvering yard,
na mesma
then it gets into the city,
se aproximando
get there close to the port area,
até os armazéns.
getting into the
Sequência vai formar uma feira ferroviária para
Getting
descentralizada que nós teremos a apresentação na
into the warehouses and to the
Oeste, com 16,4
this is a
quilômetros de viadutos na Serra do Mar,
16.5 bridges
9 quilômetros
and 7.9
de impacto ambiental.
tunnels to kilometers to minimize environmental impact. I couldn't conclude. That was perfect.
Uma vez mais, portanto,
So
nosso
one more time, thank you to Luiz Henrique Fagundes,
trabalho, Plano Estadual Ferroviário,
Railroad Estadual Plan
participação
Work Group Coordinator, and one more
Muito bem, o
narration.
consultor do
So
setor portuário, Luiz
now
Henrique
the
Tessuti
port
Dividino,
sector
é o nosso
consulting
próximo palestrante.
Luiz Henrique Tessuti Divino is our next speaker. Welcome. Good morning to everybody. I'd like to thank your invitation, and I'll just go fast through it. This presentation is focused on the title of our event, cargo lifting potential. So I'll talk about it in our vision, talk about the problem that the new terminal could solve, and let's get into the Ferroeste that we think it's really fundamental for this. So in the movimentation, talking about premises, I brought here some important data. Everything is true once you have clients. 88% of the grains is between in the world. It's between US, Brazil, and Argentina. We are the only one that can increase that, and we have the USDA information, which is really new, where we'll have to export more 36 million tons up to 2030 to Asia. I know that Brazil can do something about 30 or 35 millions, and of course this is an OECD report. So this is true. This is true. So this is that everything the Paranaguá movement nowadays. So we need lots of capacity to reach that. What's the great challenge? Our logistical costs are higher than of our competitors. One part of of this is distance, is hard to control, and the other one is lack of infrastructure. That's what we're going to talk about. So, the USDA report shows these main outflow points in Brazil. So the circle is the production zone. We're focused to Sorriso, and our another important zones, Maringá, Cascavel. These are the main points. You don't need to read the numbers, I'll report it. And then I looked at the competitions. So I took the main routes, mainly regarding the agribusiness in USA. They produce in other zones, but this is the main production. And the outflows from west or to east. I put here Argentina because it puts our price up and down. The results of all of this is that we know that we'll to know if we will have cargo or not. But simplifying here, why Paranaguá? Because these are the main zones, so that you can have some distance. Long Beach, Tacoma. You have something about it's in Pacific. It's a shorter distance to China. It's fundamental. That's why the international trades buy and sell products. So of course, when you put the in-train impact, it neutralizes the gain of the Pacific Ocean. Where? Let's bring it to dollars. It's a photograph. Why Paranaguá is strategical? Because in any scenario, Paranaguá is in the game. I'm bringing this information because I'll present some slides of a project here in Paranaguá. And of course, Argentina has a better price, but has some exportation tax, and it's neutralized. So everything that has said to my colleague is real. To invest in Paranaguá and to Paranaguá port is an international vision. The world sees that. And that's why Paranaguá does 60 million tons, and it was chosen decades ago. So there is this data from Paranaguá. It says that movimentation of cargo movimentation. In 2020, we have increased the better optimistic expectation. How can we see this data? Of course, you have the wagons and trucks flow that we're bringing today. We have to think this way about this means. So these are the premises that bring us to make projects in Paraná. So how do we distribute this? So 91% is done of the public part, all contracts, and you have a private terminal that performs really well. So for me as a consultant, the entry of the new terminal, private terminals, will leverage the port. Yeah, the port is doing that already really well, but if you have to come from 60 to 85, you have to be concerned with the next decades. I'd like to put that on the side. This information is real, and the neighbors ports take 6 million tons from Paraná every year. Not last year. Some critical, just one ship. When they say that, it's a lie. It's about 10 ships. It's the nature of the logistic operation. No, it has to be concluded. You have bulk, you have fleet, you have concrete. What is the alternative? Just go there. No discussion. So up there, I put a detailment in the right side. Paranaguá is the most public port in Brazil. It presents as an optimal alternative, and when we put the most public in Brazil, it's a management and line-up point of view. It's not a critical, it's not good, it's not bad. It's a statement that we have to carry with us. From my way of seeing this, Santos and other ones, they are like 50-50, 40-50, because one puts another one to get better. It's a competition. Then I came back, and how we're going to do this in entrepreneurship. So we get the statistics of Brazilian government. What are the biggest 10 problems in Brazilian ports? I just took 3. So that's our issue. Of the then most principal Brazilian ports, they have restrictions of railroads and highways. No railroads. I took a data from a Brazilian journal, G1, in 2003. They were talking about it already. So I promise that we have not much numbers. This data is similar to the one Fagundes gave us. I'll speak fastly. Don't worry about our information. So if you take 2010, the modal, the railroad matrix was 30% of the railroad, but the movimentation was lower. So when you go to 2020, see what happened. We're talking about 12 or 13 million tons, 21%, 22% of the modal. And then when you start to go to 2030, you see the challenge. We have to get 70-80% of the movimentation, maybe 100% of the movimentation, if you want to get 30%. And Paranaguá will keep growing. So everything we're talking here is why Paraná and why Paranaguá. That's where we have to put our money. When we're talking about vehicles, it's not less than that. So if you don't do the railroad, we will end up with the highway. So the railroad obligation is not to be an alternative, it's a need nowadays. And this is the railroad data from 2010. It grows, and then to 2017, lots of holidays. You have these vehicles with the orange line, and then you go down. It's really hard to have some data here in Brazil. So I'll work with counting flows. It's in the company's report. So what I'm trying to say here is that even if you bring a gain at the railroad, the highway will increase 30 to 40% up to 2030. So the Ferroeste project, a fast project, it will be essential so that we want to make everything that we're talking about to come true. Another railroad modal data here is the declared capacity. They have to declare the capacity. So I'm not here to judge. But we hear Rumo says that 20 to 40 million tons of capacity. I think that they have 20 something, but I don't have enough data for that. But I'm believing on that. The port is getting 13 millions. So the challenge is brutal. Okay. What was the challenge to compatibilize everything? So why we're bringing the project? You have Paranaguá, this heat area. It's high density of logistics. Paranaguá has become in a logistical city, a whole city. If you get to Paranaguá, you want to if you want to build some houses, there's no way. So there's the city. If you're not in the city, you are in logistics. So nowadays we can load 1,200 wagons every day on the 2 axes. But the port has a restriction of 780, 800, depends on the season, on the product, sugar. You have to transport when the client wants. But we have the cargo lifting potential of 2,000 wagons every day. So for the Paranaguá project, it's really challenging. Okay, let's go. Why things weren't better in the history? Nobody is blamed. It's the nature of the story. When you have the red machines, is where we export, and the blue ones where we load the imported goods. So they are really in the city, and this was a problem in the last years. Of course, that we can improve that. What's the second challenge? Is that the load, as the city now is logistical, the load is everywhere in the city, and where you have blue points, only the trucks can get there, and the train won't be able to get there. Some warehouses are in the middle of a village, so it's a logistical city. But the detail is that the railroad gets to a static capacity of 2 million tons. And the warehouse that serves the trucks has already 3 million tons. So it's a dynamics that is you have to look at it if you want to put up a solution. So now I ask our shareholders the authorizations so that I can give you this data. So we want to minimize the problems that we have and increase demand and capacity. So how is Guará Port going to be? So we have this image here, Paranaguá Port on the right, in the central, the green one, the Guará Port. All these lines, red, yellow, green, are our alternatives to get there. We're about 1,000 meters from the railroad. That's the shorter distance between a truck, a wagon, and a ship in Brazil. That was measured. Of course, when we talk about Brazil, we're talking about great density ports, of course, not smaller ones. But we're out of the city gate, out of the town, so this allows us to collaborate with the Ferroeste process, where the wagons comes with 120, 106, they go straight with no difficulties. If you don't know the area, we are from 800 meters from Mosaic. It's up here. It's a general layout. I would like to put here that is the first projects in Brazil that first design highways and railroads, and then the port. The port was the last thing to be designed. So if the problem is the railroad and high road, so first I solve the truck and the wagon problem before putting the port in there. Now the project is ready to serve 600 wagons and trucks altogether. The wagons come to the lateral, and we have this track in the shape of a pear, so that you can understand. In the entrance, you put all the loads down. Everything. It's important to mention that in here we separate some areas to build 21 kilometers of railroad inside the terminal. So we have conditions to get a really high volume of loads. So here you can see everything that is lined. You don't need to break the train. The composition goes straight. For you to understand the status of the project, all maneuver things we've done. We have authorization of the Brazilian Marine Corporation for everybody that's regarding the engineering. So they take the idea to a project, and to a project to come true, you have to have certifications through the process. In the railroad area, as we invested a lot, we've done some simulations. We have some mathematical models, real-time models. So here you can see the download of two composition of 80 wagons without breaking the composition. It's important to mention that Guará Port will be designed for 35 million tons for each railroad. This may put us into the, and I repeat, It is done because the planning of all port entrepreneurship was looking first to the railroad and then the highway and then to the port. The port in Paranaguá port was put here. I don't know who said that, sorry. Paraná has the best productivity. So the problem is not the port. The problem is to connect these three models in an economic way. So of course, then we went here to support the Paranaguá port. We just want. So just to conclude, I'd like to mention that a composition takes from 60 to 65 hours to download in Paranaguá and come back. Rumo can say that in 50 hours, it's great. But here we have two compositions of 80 wagons in 6 hours. So we're talking about reduce this to 5%. So this comes into the Ferroeste project, which is like just deliver the load and just leave. So that's why we present it as a solution. So I'll accelerate it. We're looking at the Ferroeste project as a master line. So we have access in triangle that allows us to give wagons from Paranaguá and from the other parts of the state and vice versa. All of the projects, they are, I took some images. So this one is the best warehouse to download grains. It's called Lato Gran. So it's the gauge is a hybrid gauge, as you call it, both measures. And here is the design with detail. We don't have ideas, we have projects. So we can download 4 wagons simultaneously in 2 lines, 8 simultaneously with the third optional. We believe that the third will be built. Maybe the third one won't be built because if you work well with the first 2, it will be perfect. So as Fagundes said, the best part of the railroad is not to have a part of detail. Railroad is a composition of time to load, to move all the loads and to download. So maybe we won't have any problems to load the wagons. It will be okay. But we have to have conditions to download it smoothly. And we want to collaborate with that. So here, going to the end, I'd like to bring a vision, scaled in scale. The first one up is Rondonópolis. It's the biggest track in pear shape in Brazil. So it has the capacity, maybe not 100% yet, of 5 ways. So it's something really, really huge. They load 1,200, 1,300 wagons easily. Below we have Porto Guará. We have 1,640 meters from door to door, from gate to gate. It's a really important data that we can absorb 120 wagons or more. Another point that we have 500 meters of extension. It's a big radius there, but it's a struggle inside the city, but it will be potentialized. And below, you have the Rumo yard that has 1,000 meters. So that's a vision and on how, my particular vision on how we could invest in the railroad. As I said earlier, saying about Rumo way or Nova Ferroeste way, 20 million or 40 million tons, the capacity of load in the state, it's illimited. You can do everything. The dynamics are practical, fast, than in the port that you have concentration. So that's why the challenge is to decentralize the receiving. In our vision, I'm here as a consultant. I believe that Ferroeste will serve to Pontal Port, will serve the public port, that it's the nature, it's already there. Maybe we give strength to retake some operation in Antonina that makes 1.5 million tons. So another thing is that the private terminals in Ibucuí, they easily can do 40 million tons. Not because they are better or worse, because of their dynamics of the anticipated planning that Paranaguá didn't have this condition. Paranaguá has more than 100 years, was being built in the best way, but of course. And you cannot forget São Francisco do Sul port, that despite of the robbing of our loads, in a good sense, I believe that Ferroeste will serve there too. So it's a simple question of connection. It's a green port with great capacity of cargo lifting. I'd like to bring Guará Port, but before that, to prove that the idea to invest in Paraná and in Paranaguá is extremely correct and aligned ideas with the road drivers, and mainly the railroad and Ferroeste won't work if you don't want to. It's already done, and I'm enthusiastic, and I wish you good luck for everybody. Thank you. So thank you for Luiz Dividino. Now we go to have Mateus Campanharo, Marketing and Logistical Executive Manager of Paraná Container Terminal. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's a great honor to be representing the Paraná Container Terminal. Salute to everybody. And our idea here is to present our terminal. The Ferroeste project is fantastic. That we're talking a lot with Luiz Fagundes, André, and everybody that's involved. And the idea is to show how prepared our terminal is. Some projects that we've done with synergy with the railroad, and our vision as a terminal is that if you look at the world, China, Europe, USA, you look to the container market, it's evident that there is a hybridization of loads. The vision that we have that the ports here in Brazil, that there will be improved. They should have railroad solutions really consistent. So, to talk a little bit about the container market, and let's talk about the terminals. We can notice that Paranaguá nowadays, regarding containers, is the third in movimentation. In 2020, we almost 1 million containers, and in this year, maybe we have 1.1 million containers. This slide tells us that the game is played where the Paranaguá is there for the containers market. 80% of the whole volume in the Brazilian ports are in our influence region, in South and Southeast, mainly Paraná, Santa Catarina, and São Paulo states, through Santos, are the most relevant terminals in the container market's point of view. Looking at how Paranaguá is located in the container point of view, we can notice that basically our terminal, our structure is equal or superior than the other terminals in our region. So, as Luiz said, we have the greatest numbers in the South Latin America, so we can extend some takings in the same year, so we can pass the three our numbers. We have more than 8. We have more than 8 cranes. We have lots of mooring berth, 20.5 million installed capacity. There, that puts us with the second biggest company of that, with the other company Santos. And now we have here some information about the draft. Then we can have 13.5 of depth in short term in 2022. And we have an advanced project to make this privatization of the channel, so that we could have one of the most deep drafts in Paranaguá, and we'll put our region in better conditions. Something about of what Paraná and our terminal exports from cargo volume. So everybody has said about it. It's a trend about the grain to get into container or chicken. It's absolute here. And the cargo lifting, the chicken cargo, it's half of it. Half of our movimentation is made out of meat, regarding Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul, and of course fertilizing products. We're leader absolute regarding cooled cargos. So here we have more cooled containers than Santos has nowadays, and we can identify here that the project potential it's huge. A little bit more about the company. We manage the Paranaguá Container Terminal. It's a concession to 2048, and here some numbers of the company regarding infrastructure. We have 4 mooring berth that I call it for dolphin, for vehicles in the left part of this image. We have the 2 biggest cranes in South America. They are really prepared to get the biggest ships in the world. We're getting prepared to it. We have some area for these loads, which is really huge. So linking with the presentation, we are ready to receive the agrochemicals, so it can be a return load to Ferroeste, let's say. We have 2 structures in the terminal focused especially in the agribusiness, so there are dedicated warehouses. We have the exportation warehouses, sugar, corn, Mato Grosso do Sul, celluloses, and we have an importation warehouse that is the best one in Brazil, 2,000 square meters installed inside the area of the port, the customs area. So we literally are extension of the supply chain of the companies, and one of the most important points here is that the railroad connected directly to the port. So this is important and interesting. And as Dividino was saying, when you go to Santos, for example, Santos, the person gets with the train in Cubatão, and then divides the load for 30 or 40 kilometers on other terminals, both margins. For the final client, we increase almost 700 Brazilian reais for the client. So that's why you are far from the port. And our terminal here, we have the railroads inside the port, and you do not divide. So you can go to the railroad into the port, and it requires reduced costs to the final client. we have this corridor talking about chicken protein. We are sure that it's the best corridor in the planet Earth here in Paranaguá, talking about chicken market. In our concession, we give 10 free days to the final importer. In other terminals, they get there and they have to start paying. But here, as our Brazilian revenue just takes 2 days to free the loads, and you don't pay for 10 days, so they don't pay anything. So we're from a Chinese port. It's one of the most player in Brazil. It's called China Merchant Port. Brazil movement more than 10 million containers in Brazil, and this group has a movimentation of more than 110 millions, 3.3 trillion of dollars in assets. It's a really big in China. Talking about Ferroeste, someone who choose for Paranaguá for containers, it will be able to reach all world. All lines reach to Paranaguá. Now we are a line, a hub of the ships in the world. As I said, we've done a recent expansion that positioned the company as the biggest port in South America. And now we have 1.4 million containers, so we have a great universe to get more loads. We will have more 60% of a window to have more loads, so Ferroeste will be really welcome in the point of the capacity point of view. As said Ismael and Luiz Fagundes, we look a lot to Paraguay. Last week we were in Assunção. We will open an office in there. So Paraguay it's huge on our side. That the taxes are really not complicated, not really well regulated, so really easy to invest. And looking at the country, to containers, we're talking about 130 or 150,000 containers that movement these containers through small ships, and then goes to Santa Catarina, and then goes to Plate region, and then goes to Uruguay or Argentina, and 30 days later the load gets there. So all the logistics of a country that was growing 2-digit, all the logistics of this country depends on 30 days more at least using these smaller boats. So Paraguay surfaced the biggest climatic crisis in the story, so their ships are stopped. You cannot use them anymore. So your country think of a country depending on a river that is getting dried every year. So it's crazy. So if you have a company like you have to have safe products in our warehouse because you depend on the river. So looking at Foz, Maracaju, and Guará hubs, for sure Paranaguá will be Paraguay's port. It's really strategical. It's really huge to look and to think. Looking at the company and going to the railroad, I know I don't have much time. So the company has a subsidiary that is called TCP Log that looks at logistics. So we understand deeply that the part that only looks to port won't go anywhere. Everybody offers port, but we want to offer logistics. So here's something. Actually, it's not a port; it's a logistical platform where the clients can connect their supply chain to the port. So here is our logistical portfolio exportation. We are a reference in project loads on Bev, Klabin, Heineken. They come through Paranaguá. What is not coming in container, we have a special logistic, extra dimensional loads we operate too. And I talk about the railroad now. That's our focus. So basically nowadays we have a connection in the terminal. We have a relevant capacity. We've invested more than 50 millions in the floor and everything. And this is the map of the railroad in Paranaguá. So we're looking at the south from Cascavel. So south network goes up to Cambé. So I'll talk more about KBT, which is a really nice project. That is this Ortigueira station. What is KBT? It is basically Klabin, as you know here in Paraná. They are investing 10 billion reais in this factory expansion. With this expansion, basically Klabin wants to export most of it from container, and all together with the Brado, it's the railroad operation. K, Klabin, B, Brado, and T, it's our company, represents our partner, our company, which is our terminal. So what we want is to connect the fabric of the client. So here we have some numbers. With Klabin expansion, it will become the biggest container exportator in the country, not the cooled one, right? So that's a conceptual vision. So our director nowadays, he's launching the KBT at Ortigueira City, because they are launching the project today. So I would like to show the potential in blue. It's what Paraná does in container in the railroad. TCP is the biggest terminal, but the KBT, the Klabin load, almost double the volume of railroad and volume in Paraná. This project's really high, because if you extrapolate with Ferroeste for the productive sector, couldn't it be something like a KBT in Cascavel, Maracaju, Foz do Iguaçu, connecting to silos or grains? So it's our vision of the future business. To the ports in the states. So it's some area visions. It's the recent vision. So the railroad station is in the superior part. The terminal is south. Here with our electrical cranes, our terminal operation will be performed by us. We operate the terminal. We operate the terminal in the country, and then here another pictures of the operation. A little bit more detailed vision. Maintenance, electrical substation, railroad yards. Truck parking, so everything prepared to receive the project. And our vision about the Nova Ferroeste is that we extrapolated what we've seen as a container influence region. As we know, the market and the vision for the container market. We face that basically, it's nice to say that it doesn't compete with a south network. Maybe you can have some point in Guarapuava because of the wood. Then it's a railroad. Cascavel doesn't need to say anything. It's a lot of. Then you go to Paraguay, Guaíra. In Cascavel we have this poultry really strong. In Paraguay we have cattle. In Foz do Iguaçu, serve in Foz do Iguaçu and Ciudad del Este and Asunción, and then Maracaju. And then you have this poultry and celluloses more in the central part at Suzano. And then extrapolating to the Santa Catarina hub, Chapecó. It's really strong regarding chicken. Again, extrapolate wherever you want to go regarding the central network, and there it goes. Looking at the Paranaguá, this terminal, how do we calculate the capacity of a container terminal? Then you have to put more cranes on your railroad operation. Nowadays we have installed capacity higher than what Ferroeste can deliver. But nowadays we have the capacity to operate Ferroeste really smoothly. It's really nice that even though we have projects in we're contracting projects so that we can support the railroad. We really believe that the railroad will hubberize ports, and we're looking with good attention to it. And we have projects in advanced stages to extend the capacity of the railroad for containers. I'm available for you all. Thank you. From the Paraná Container Terminal. Thank you. Thank you to Matheus Campanharo. And now we have Luiz Fernando Garcia, Paraná Ports President, the public company that manages Port Paranaguá and Turina Port. So good morning, all colleagues. And first of all, thank everybody to Dr. Carlos Walter, FIAP President, that always welcome us. Edson Vasconcelos, my friend João Arthur, our consular, administration consular, the Valdemar secretary, our secretary Sandro Lex, to Mato Grosso do Sul governor that is here, showing the integrated thoughts abroad. Secretary Marcelo da Costa, my director Ismael Trinks, and our friends speakers, Luiz Fagundes, that has put out this project regarding the feelings of the Paraná State population. Sometimes we listen that Mato Grosso, it's a dream, but West being served, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Matheus, around the terminal, and Luiz Dividino, that I was saying with really well regarding the future prospections. And I mentioned also here that if the management of the port can be recognized, is not because we got a really well-organized port when we have the condition to look forward. So when you have to the public management, if the public management has to look back and to the forward, it's really hard. But as the port was in solid basis, we can have great projects and go forward. And it wouldn't be possible to recognize of the ports without clear policies and of our secretary Sandro Lex and Governor Ratinho Jr. From beginning of 2019, our goal is to serve the users. With clear policies, our work is easy. We just put everything that's already moving, and we follow always looking at the client. So, and then Paraná, before I start my presentation, I always say that Paraná is a different environment. The secretary just said that the FIEP support in the discussion of the concession models for highways, and in the port is not different. As I said, João Arthur is part of our administration council. We also have a representative in the Agriculture Federation of Paraná State in our group. And our discussions are really nice, and the last event that proves that is the regarding the pro-Paraná movement that Bruel and Nelson has done, that we've done a paralyzation in the project, this project that is discussed through decades, that is started the license process in 2009, but now we have the license in 2018 and 19. But the pro-Paraná movement got into the process and certainly was really positive, with a really high weight, so that we could go on. So thank you publicly to the pro-Paraná movement and all associations and terminals that were supporting us, but it's not an isolated support. It's a constant and continuous movement. All the discussions with the society are permanent. So let's say, where is it? So here, as Luiz Fagundes was saying, our geographical position. It is privileged, but also we have to be aware and pay attention always. So small short distance separates us from the biggest port of Latin America, from ports from the Santa Catarina. So Paraná is in the middle of it. So if we fail between ports, we feel it. So Dividino just put that these are, we have to make some accounts. So big companies are in the Paranaguá port. They are there because they may love Paraná and Paranaguá, but it's a logistical cost that is attractive for them to be there. If we fail, and any feeling or perception that you don't have any commercial advantage to be installed in Paranaguá, these companies just close their this warehouse and just left. So some time ago it happened, and they installed themselves in Santa Catarina 2 decades ago about it. So if the companies choose to change, it's really hard for them to come back. Even if you have a competitive advantage in operating in Paraná port, but we feel that it's hard for the companies for them to have the return of their operations. And this scenario put here by our infrastructure ministry from Brazil. It's a planning that the ministry just give us these perspectives of these movements of cargo lifting. For this planning 2030, we'd have 60 million tons, and to 2060, 85 million tons worked in Paraná complex. Some of these are not true because we're not with in 2020 we have 60 million. We didn't get it because we had no loads. So in December we have a movement really low from the what we use. We had almost 57 million tons, and 8 years ago it was about 30 million tons. So it's an intense movement that, of course, you work to increase the competitivity infrastructure, looking at the maximum. But sometimes we have some because of the seasons, but the ports has to be structured for a regular movement and continuous and an increasing movement. And here our movimentation closed in 2020. The solid grains and fertilizer importation and vegetable grains exportation, 38 millions of fertilizing. Everyone here knows, but most of 30% of the fertilizer that gets into Brazil imported, it passes through Paraná port. So we have general loads and liquids growth, expressive growth, as we will see in this year, and this makes the port one of the most productive for the linear meter. There is an obligation. It was our management and neither the other one. It was the conception of the Paraná State ports when in the 70s we imagined the exportation corridor when the ports were doing 5 million tons and now are doing 5 million tons a year, but nowadays we do 6 million tons a month, and 5 years later the exporting corridor we have this 57 million, that 20 million we're talking about the exportation corridor that support us. So this planning of the Paraná State ports, especially in Paranaguá in the 70s, with a long-term vision and how you have to look at the infrastructure in a vision where that you are aware of your limitations and geographical made that the design model so long ago, nowadays 50 years later, it's our leader. So geographical limitation, as you know, from the west we have a public port. The limits of our borders of exploration on at west we have the Virgin Mary of Paranaguá City. So after we have another island called Cotinga. We have an indigenous area. So we have some limitations to growth for birth position. So makes that the productivity has to be observed in our case. And as I said, here our highlights, as Matteo said, the expansion of the container terminal. So nowadays it's one of the biggest isolated terminals of in the Atlantic coast in Latin America. So the port always observes the productivity issue. So the numbers for you to know, our movementations when closing August, even with the problem with the corn, we fell it a lot. Has brought decrease of the movimentation or accumulated accumulation comparing from January comparing to the last year that was our best year. Now we have yet growth of more than 2%, and the liquid bulk, it was really a good surprise, but it's the movement of the proximity of the port. It happened because of the hubs that we have here and because of Santos Island port. But nowadays logistic can take a late lineup, so the Paraná regarding this leakage issue, it's an option, and we can prove that with our movement. And regarding our ports, they have their development is to be aligned with in 3 points. The access through water, inland access, and terminals. If one of these points fail, the port will fail too. We have to be really well structured for all of them. We have to have conditions to receive, the terminals to operate, and put into ships. Our role in the logistics, if you look at the distances, are really important. So they're low actually. So we have great distance from the railroad and highways, and Ferroeste shows that. And port is just a little point where it takes the load from the wagon and to the truck, to the ship, or other way around. So it's a struggle point. So the attention has to be permanent. And for that, there are 3 points that we have to attack here, and I will start through the waterway. So we have a great channel here from right to left, we have almost 40 kilometers of the channel, a little bit more of 20 kilometers to get to Paranaguá, and more 17 kilometers to Antonina port. And then for the hydrodynamics conditions and geological conditions, it's a port that needs permanently drought services. So we have always 3 million cubic meters per year around it. So this makes that and for a decade we have no problems with services provision of dredging services. So first of all, we bring safety, and then we attract these ships with a good maritime condition. And now we have this is our actual data. So Paranaguá and Antonina have 12.5 meters and 8.5 meters. Phase 1, 13.5 meters, and we'll have it now. So the federal government has invested in last year, 2017 and 18, around 4 million Brazilian reais, and the port is moving 22 million cubic meters that is going to take off now, so that we can have this one meter more of this draft. So for another 3 or 4 months we will finish the services, and then we homologate it, and then we have the condition to guarantee this 1 meter. What this meter represents? 7,000 tons in a ship, 500 containers. So we have this dredging campaign for Antonina port, so that you can have this 9.5 meters. And phase 2, it's a little bit more far. We will start in the feasibility, so that we can have a port with 15.5 meters and 12.5 meters in Antonina. So maybe we have a possibility of a concession of the channel as soon as some promises can be served. So the user cannot pay more for that. He pays to operate. So all ships that attracts in the port, they pay for the dredging service. If you have a long-term concession, maybe you have a possibility to put some investments around 5 billion in Brazilian reais, with no higher cost to the user. We have for having a sustainable program, we need more 12.5 meters in Antonina. In January, we first have our first economical and financial modeling, so that you can take the decision. It's different from the highway project because we have the delegation of the competence. So if this project is not good to Paraná, we won't do it. The autonomy to take the decision is ours. So this gives us this put us in a comfort position that when we get the modeling, we'll share with the community, and then if there is an understanding for the private and public project that is good, then it will go forward, and then we'll have the public audience, and then federal government, a normal concession project, and then the bid. And as I said, we are working, making some explosions. We're kind of we were waiting an explosion like an atomic bomb that everything went to the air. But when you see the explosion, if you don't pay attention to it, you just lose it. The noise is really low, and it's done. The daily explosion is done. So it's a consistent project in environmental issue, It takes a good care. We have divers looking at it and technological mechanisms that put all fish away. So in 2 weeks service, the explosions happens once a day, at the end of the day, communicated to the community and everything. So so far, we could found 7 dead fish, and we have to take them and like kind of cemetery that you can analyze the causes and everything. But 7 30-centimeter fish that were dead. So it's really nice there. And sometimes we cannot take it because the nature solve it. We have some birds that before the team gets there to get the fish, the bird takes its food. So it's a 20 million works, maybe another 2 million because of environmental issues. We have to add other 2 million, and it's been done since the September 6th. We have a follow-up of the services. We have dedicated links so that daily the information are feed because of the time of the explosion. Of course, we deal with meteorological issues, and sometimes the services are performed a little bit earlier or later, depending on the weather conditions. So this is our first point. The waterways. We have to guarantee that the ships get there into the port. We have 365 ships that have to be prepared for it, and the ports are getting prepared.
Para isso nós vamos dividir em leste e oeste. Para quem conhece aqui o porto, nós temos hoje 6 processos de licitação. Essas licitações elas começaram a ser estruturadas em 2013.
So this bid, they started in 2013, 2012. We have some laws in 12-13 that we have this bid process to be centralized in the federal government. And in 2019, we could delegate the competences. So Paraná State was recognized to take these bids, of course, following the modeling of the federal government. But they gave us this instrument to structure these 5 bids. This is 5 occupied areas already. This one is vehicles area. That's in the next slide, but here we have the next bids. How this works? You structure the project, they go to a public audience, and then 30 days later at public audience, and then we go to. It's not different from another bidding process. So on the red, on the left, it's bidded in 2019, and nowadays the area is already there. Klabin have this bid, and it started to build in its terminals. It's 120 million reais of investment. And another one are in the public audience process, go to the federal government, and they adapt the projects so that we can launch the bids. And then we'll have other 3 areas. Per 9 in the west, it's exportation of solid grain, so that you want to invest in infrastructure. And then we have the point of that church. So the red line brings our limits. It is defined by a President of the Republic decree. The last update was done in 1215. So there is a circle when we can see in the center the Virgin Mary of Rocio, of this Paraná city, and then we go offshore. Then we go to the to this structure in a F shape. And then in the east side we have some occupied areas with some contracts ready to be disposable into public audience. So par 09, 14 and 12 they will be bidded in until October. We are waiting for the regulation agencies, and then we will open the public audiences. And par 12 there was our first bid with the delegation of competence. It's a vehicles area bidded in last December. It's 25 million reais. It seems not to be so expressive for the investment on the port, but it's a really extremely important area so that we can work with important load. The vehicles will have Renault, Volkswagen, so that you can work in an organized way. It's a more clear area where you don't have any conflicts with other grain movements. So it's a special area. So for short term, regarding the bidding areas, and then we go to the last part. There is the inland access, and then in the moment we have to have a team, competent team, but you also have to have some luck, because we are going to a moment that is unique. Maybe we have a new highway concession in November 21. This concession cycle is closed, and a great project is being done, so we can leverage another 40 million reais into the highway so that the load reach our port. So also soon the South network will end. We'll have a good perspective that in next decade we will have a great volume of investments in railroads, only working with this existing concession projects. So our greatest project, the Ferroeste, that's being discussed in the moment with excellent perspectives, as Secretary Marcelo das Costa was saying, it's doing in an integrated way. So the port knows that the highway, the railroad is going to happen. So this discussion makes that the projects become more mature. So we're in a good moment, and this is a lucky moment. Everything is going on in the next years. And this is our matrix. So nowadays we have highway model, more than 80% of this is last year's number. For this year is not different. So highway, permanent highway presents our data. So railroads only 15%, which is really low. If you want to move 85 million tons, if you have a share like this, it won't be possible. So it's not possible to work in a competent way if you have 85 million tons being 80% through highways. Of course, we have some oil ducts, and in the highway, and the railroads, in this 15%, only 30% of this return to Paraná. So the Paraná has a condition, a better condition to explore all the conditions. So 30% of the fertilizers that gets into Brazil
Ele não tem condição de receber hoje.
gets into Paraná, and most of it goes through trucks. We have there in Cascavel, for example, that is ready to get this load, and this project for sure will change the port condition. We have to do our part.
Temos sim hoje, mesmo com esses 14
We have
14 milhões de toneladas,
this 14% that represents 13 or 14 million tons.
também complicado.
We have receiving, which is really complicated. Lots of discussions that initiated.
Era falando, eu não traciono mais por
The operator of the railroad
vocês,
saying that I won't do more
que faz com que a rodovia
because you are not adapted to us. So
que a serra tem capacidade
they
de
put
20 a
that the
40,
mountains,
não conseguem porque o porto é ineficiente aqui embaixo.
they can put the railroads
Essa é a lata
operator. They say that they can
do corredor de exportação.
transport 20 to 40 millions, but they say that the terminals are not ready.
O
Uh,
granel vegetal não teve seu desvio ferroviário pela questão
because of it's a question of area. And another terminals that we have some good ones, some ones that are not good. So
porque
the railroad operation is really low. Another train stops another one. So the port headquarters is right under the railroad hub. So we see all the compositions
esperando
waiting, stopped, the maneuvers
granel acontecer.
of the grains to happen. So
Essas manobras são
sometimes the maneuvers are short, 20 to 50 minutes. Às vezes they go to 40 or 50 minutes. So this ineffectiveness
Paraná tivesse
make that Paraná State was obligated to think on a project like that. These ideas were already being discussed,
muito em breve
but this project soon
concluído.
will be concluded so that we can beat it.
Foi projeto
It's a project that
traz aí uma realidade
brings a reality that investments
que ao seu final hoje com
at the end of the day of the crazy budgets,
reais, mas
they go up to 700
sua capacidade
million reais. But looking at the 20 millions of tons projected for movement, we know it's future, depends on investments and market behavior.
faça parte
But even if be part of it,
hoje e a demanda
to serve the demand,
essa eficiência
we can improve a lot the efficiency, and not only for the grains. We
já num setor direto que é o container.
in another sector too, which is container. So
Também uma melhora
the concession player Rumo
mas por vezes
always brings
movimento porque com a serra
the liquid
1880
loads that they want to use the port here.
eventos operacionais climáticos fazem também que nós tenhamos atrasos em janelas de operação. Então,
So this project,
melhorará com
it
certeza
will improve for sure
a cara operacional do porto.
the operational part of the port in the east side. So we have now 27
Em 27
passage streets. In 27 streets, the
pensando na logística,
trains
a
maneuver.
população que transita ali
If you think in the logistics, it will be okay, but for the population that is there,
às vezes
they have to wait 40 minutes.
nós que estamos torcendo
Sometimes when it's more than 40 minutes,
fulos da vida esperando
we got a little bit angry because we want the train to maneuver,
passagem,
but
soturno e
think of the people that are passing through. So
interferências.
we will have only 5 interferences with this new project in this side of the port.
Também não
And these 5 won't demand maneuvers, will be just passing through. The compositions will just pass through.
manobrar
And if they don't need to maneuver,
de 5 a 7 minutos.
will be from 5 to 7 minutes maximum. So this project will aggregate to the port,
Refletir
but we will also reflect in the issue of the city-port conflict so discussed. The population will be benefited.
caminhões que
Uh,
corredor de exportação
and of course less trucks and everything.
projeto
We have a bigger detail here, the simulated process for 108 wagons simultaneously. So a composition gets there, break it into 3 lines with 60 wagons, 11 interconnected terminals. It's really complex because it affects a lot the project that has a conception to get everything in a unique point. So the wagons download in one unique point and then to the warehouses. And these 180 wagons maybe will take 3 to 3 hours to deliver the load. So it's revolutionary. It started a little bit timid regarding the existing demand, but later in the full force it will give us a condition, appropriate condition of port operation. And it's discussed a similar project in this side. Maybe it's more critical in the railroad. So, but there it's a more difficult area because it's ours. There are no discussions. So the available area for west side belongs to the concession, so we have to discuss a little bit more deeply, so that you can guarantee the execution of the investments regarding long term, independently of a new concession or renovation or of the concrete. So in the future, if they ask what do you dream for the public ports in Paraná State, of course, with Ferroeste execution, we intend one day in the railroad model and both east and east side they are going to be disconnected. And for this place, I put here this announcement is going to be today or tomorrow in the newspaper, following the laws, because the amount of investment, because the positive impact there is for the society. We have this previous step that the public audience that will perform in the October 20th. We'll have through a link, dedicated email, questions and answers. This project is already in the environmental license process, so everything's been followed so that we can, until this year, we can launch the bid of the execution of the project, actually. And to end, we put our exportation corridor, as Secretary just said, is one of the greatest projects in the port. That we can translate into three groups. The corridor will be in line with the corridor, the east side, built in the 90s, one of the latest biggest investments, with some potentialization in the 90s. Structural remodelation in 2014 with new equipments, but at that time it was designed a new proposal to exportation corridor, aiming increase of capacity, and this it was designed a pier in T-shape so that bigger ships can operate. So as I said, it's a short port, so we put a great ship in the operation. It will interfere in the fertilizing operation. So we go offshore, work with the exportation corridor for new berth. Nowadays we have 1,500 to 2,000 tons. So there are 2 lines feeding the berth, 4 berths, 2 lines, but with a higher capacity, 4,000 tons. In the 70s, they saw it as an exportation corridor that in 50 years later supports us. Nowadays, as a clear policy from Secretary Sandro Lex, let's structure a exportation corridor for the next 50 years, looking at all these investments in the Paraná State, in railroads and highways and terminals. So, if you want, we have 2 minutes of a video that we can visualize. So this is a long video. So let's just put in 2 minutes. It has 7 minutes, but we'll put it available. So that's the idea. That we can do the Paraná ports. Knowing about the geographical limitation, they have more conditions to explore better and serve all these demands. Thank you. Thank you, Luiz Fernando Garcia. And now we have the Q&A with João Arthur Moore being the host, doing the strategic issues manager João Arthur Moore. So first of all, thank you, Fagundes. They presented Dividino, they presented all the investments in the Paraná ports, to Mateus for the presentation of the terminal port, Gabriel, that is here with us. You know that today they are inaugurating a great terminal in Ortigueira, another city. So thank you to our Luiz Fernando Garcia, President of Paranaguá Port. Congratulate you for the prize, award of the first place award for public management that they took it 2 weeks ago, I think. The management of Dividino too. So we have the former president and the actual president, and the third Luiz Dividino, Luiz Fagundes, Luiz Garcia. So the third Luiz will help us to carry the port with low logistical cost. And the Paraná Container Terminal, congratulate for the preparation. I had some questions here in the chat box, so I'll open. And then people that are in the chat box, so they can send it to our email. But we have a participation of more than 100 people, including more than 12 people watching in English, so we have more than 10 people here following the English language. Invited people, there are people from Paraguay here interested in the project. They put something in the chat box. We had some problems, but we have it recorded regarding the Bio Oceânica. why to invest in Bioceânica? So actually the Nova Ferroeste is the Bioceanic in Brazil. So in the future we'll be able to, of course, the investment from the Paraguay government, we could follow with the railroad into Paraguay, so that we can bring loads and take loads. The Paraná terminal shows some tracks into Paraguay, because these projects that are represented today, they are not exclusively Paraná projects. They go to Santa Catarina, in Chapecó, they will serve to Mato Grosso do Sul, and maybe futurely Mato Grosso State with the extension of this railroad connection in Rondonópolis to Maracaju. So we'll have a railroad modal really important. So there's some questions. I don't know the name, but it's TJPM High Paraguay. So it has commented of the Bioceanic in the chat. Of course, that the Brazilian track of the Bioceanic is the Nova Ferroeste. We have new challenges on the, mainly at the ends, but at least of the east side of Bioceanic to the Atlantic, maybe will be concretized with new Nova Ferroeste work. And the last question from Paraguay is regarding the issue of the triple frontier, so I'll give some spoiler. As Luiz Fernando said, regarding the public audience, in the beginning of the year, in Foz do Iguaçu, we'll have a great event of the triple frontier, Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil, logistical regarding our highway, railroad, loads, terminals, waterways. So this will take place in March next year, so this is the answer. Regarding the Brazil movement, pro-Paraná movement, it's so important, the pro-Paraná movement, that I'm saying pro-Brazil. But Brielle is asking regarding Fagundes, regarding the schedule of the civil works and where it starts and what's the first part. This is the first part of Luiz Fagundes. So let's start to the struggling points. The first one is the rainforest, because it requires more time for works, maybe around 5 years, from Balsa Nova to Paranaguá, and then we'll feed the construction of the second struggle point with the biggest one, with the Esperança Mountains. We expect that in 8 years we have Cascavel to Paranaguá built, including project and construction. Our modeling foresees that in 2030 we will start to work Cascavel, Paranaguá straight ahead, and then the other part. So now to Nelson Gomes, President of the Paraná Engineering Institute. So good morning to everybody. Congratulations to our speakers, especially the Secretary, Sandra Lex, that represents our Governor, Ratinho. And I would like to put some clarification. So we work in the Institute, presented to amicus curiae as a support to the judge that is deciding it. And in this aspect of the environmental issue, it was a YEP directive decision that we took everything there, and maybe it could have helped. And I would say for everybody that the Paraná Engineering Institute has worked this way in the technical aspects to represent the Paraná society in all the aspects that regards to a better challenge better state moments, better infrastructure.
disponíveis a isso.
We're still available for
Minha
that.
pergunta diz respeito
My
exatamente à
question
continuidade
is regarding the
das
continuity
palangana, né?
of
Qual é a
the
perspectiva de
environmental
existe,
issues.
claro que existe uma série
Of course, there we have lots of issues
previamente
that has to be previously discussed
próprio
with the infrastructure ministry,
agência, né,
with the agency, ports agency. So lots of questions
porque,
because
todo mundo sabe que se você
everybody
aumentar
knows
a
that
carga do navio, você tá
we put more loads in the
aumentando
ships.
a quantidade transportada,
We increase
custos,
the transported load, and then you decrease the cost. And of course, in the efficiency of any entrepreneurship,
redução de custos,
you want cost reduction,
da
improvement of the
qualidade,
quality,
diminuição de prazo do transporte, que foi comentado,
decreasing of
né,
the fleet,
seja
the
por
time of the fleet,
diminuição da
transportation.
logística, tem fundamentalmente
Logistical has fundamentally these three aspects: cost,
eficiência,
efficiency,
menor prazo,
less schedule, and more amount transported. And
aumento da pedra, da profundidade do
if
canal, com
if
certeza,
if you consider the
vai também, né,
consider the
encontro a
deep
esses três pilares
depth of
da
the channel, you find these steep points of the logistics. So I'd like to know some details, more details about it.
Obrigado, Dr. Nelson.
So thank you, Nelson.
Esse primeiro evento ele
This first event
há 4 meses.
will end in 3 to 4 months. The second one,
Coisa maior.
it's a little bit bigger.
Só voltando nesse primeiro
So just coming back to the first event,
só para justamente
it comes to my mind so that you have some data.
da profundidade.
It's not more. So when you finish the service, we'll gain 1 meter. We take another condition that not only the capacity of the ships, but also the hours that we are stopped waiting for because of the rocks.
Terço do ano
So 1/3 of the year, we wait more than 100 days because of the rain.
a depender da umidade
Depends on the humidity of the time, it just stops.
desses 2/3
And then from this thirds that has left, almost 1/3 we wait for the sea. So we have the elimination of this inefficiency.
e esse segundo ponto
And the second point,
contratou projeto
the port has hired executive project in the beginning of 2019. It was done maybe of the 2 great designers, port designers of the country.
aí no top 5.
They are at top 5, and then they designed the conditions of the port, because before get to this 15.5,
Que quisemos entender se
we wanted to understand if it was there was any engineering feasibility, if it was possible. So the design said yes, it's possible.
a mais,
You go a little bit deeper, but that's an engineering condition, and all the services would cost, or will cost, about 5 billion reais, something about $1 billion. And from that, you start structuring it. Paraná State, the Paraná Ports Company, doesn't have this amount of resources to put into this depth services. And then we structure these concession projects, maybe the private public, with more exploration time, it will have the possibility to do so. But the project, the economic modeling, the first version will get to us for the first evaluation with the evaluation with the government in January 2022, because it's an extremely complex project. You know what you have to do and where you want to go. So now we have to make some counts. Will market have a condition to see it as a capacity of exploration, have the return of the money? We don't have this answer today. And the consulting hired will give it to us in January 2020. So we'll see if it's okay, if we need some adjustment, and then normal process of public audience. So it's a project that in normal and regular standards will go through 2022, and everything in the expectations. Thank you, Luis. Dividing the question regarding the schedule, implementation in the Guará ports, presentation this to the market. And then we have a question to Mateus about BSTEC. So, about the private terminal Guará port, almost all the studies in engineering is 100% done. Environmental study 100% done. We're taking some cares for the environmental licenses during the pandemics. Lots of people try to do some public audiences, but we have some questionings. So we are waiting the agencies to allow us to do online audiences. So then we'll have this audience in the second half. And regarding the volume of information that we know already, we know what is needed. Then we go to the construction licenses. Maybe we'll have it in the first half of next year. So maybe regarding the possibility and feasibility point of view, it's possible to start construction in the first half of next year. Thank you, Dividino. And the two last questions, one is to Mateus, and the other one to Fagundes. Regarding, Fagundes has commented, so I'll do both together. Ferroeste is ready to double stack. That will allow in the Paraná West that produce animal protein that will double the containers in the same composition. Instead of 120, we'll have 240 containers, and the cost fleet will low down. So the preparation for the Paraná terminal, how is it? To get to the double stack containers, what's your vision on it? So our vision about the double stack is that it's modernization. If you go to USA, everybody operates like that. So from the practical part, we are ready. If you have a double stack to Paraná Container Terminal, we are already prepared to operate. Thank you, Mateus. And the last question comes from José Carlos Dias Lopes from da Conceição, that is asking for the struggling point connecting Guarapuava and Balsa Nova, the Esperança Mountains. Just to reinforce that he's like, would it be the second priority? No, it's not the second priority. It's simply that the time for construction is smaller. So being smaller, you don't need to anticipate investment. So you can have a smooth investment flow to the investment. That's the reason. Talking about logistics, it's the worst struggling point. But it's a matter of doing our construction in a better flow, cash flow way. So to see how it's important, João, the connection of these models. Talking about the large gauge, we allow double stack that rises the capacity of the terminal with no investments, and we'll have more loads too in the specific wagon of large gauge. It takes 20% more, and to take off the loads of the wagon is faster. So how is important a connected vision between the models? Okay, so after that we'll send to Mariana Tomaski that wants to know some information about cooled containers. So we'll go to this. We'll send it to Mateus. She's asking about the vegetables exportations and all of this. So please send it to Mariana. If Mariana can send it to your email. So remembering that some doubts that you may have, we'll ask for you to send to the email. To the email address is at the chat box, so that you can write to there. So if you want the presentations, some presentations it will not be possible to send it for confidentiality issues, but those that are made available for these pictures, we can send it. So to close the event, I'd like to Sandro Alex and then Edson Vasconcelos to end. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank our speeches, our government team, our partners that works with us at the ports. Salute to the governor. I was talking to Edson that along the years I would like to thank the Pro Paraná and the Engineering Institute. We really thank you for the partnership. Through the decades we're discussing, but now we see this being built and Paraná is going forward. So for the next 30 years in the state, in all models we are working and everybody's talking between us and with the productive sector that has to be aware of everything that government is doing that is essential for the development of the state. So we'll be back in a few weeks with some news that we've done through this year, and I hope to be here with you soon. Thank you. So to end up, to thank you, Secretary, and to our governor, not only the partnership, but this harmonization that we can notice here. And it's essential because of the expansion ring of the state interests go abroad the state. But when the Paraná Container Terminal is saying that it's going to open an office in Paraguay, it's really important. To renew the South network, it's really important that our ring is important to us, and how this renewal will help to harmonize the process. We noticed that Curitiba is concerned about the accidents. Maybe not as we have in the terminals. But it's really important to take all the tracks from downtown, is to tell everybody that the state has the capacity to take the loads to serve Paraguay, Mato Grosso, and also transform our state not only into in the benefits that not only Chapecó will have, but Paraná will have too. I'd like to thank everybody. I guess João will send all questions soon. Thank you, everybody. So I'd like to thank everybody for your participation, and I wish you have a good day.